Hello, friends. Here I am again. Day 2 of the Texas Public Policy Foundation Annual Summit here in Austin. Today is the second day of March. Happy Texas Independence Day, everybody. I hope all of you could or were able to watch the video that I recorded 3 days ago at inside of the Independence Hall on Washington, on the Washington on the Brazos Museum State Park. Let's do that again. It is impossible for me to translate and to relate to you everything that has been discussed today. Remember that these are not lectures. It's not one person talking all the time. It's a panel with at least 2 participants or panelists and 1 moderator. So there's a lot. They talk all the time, bring a lot of information, so important information, information that is so important. So I will relay again the highlights, the bullet points of that were, to me, in my perception, the most important things to be told. I mean, I have pages and pages and pages here of notes, and I'm not going to weary you out, okay? So the first panel of the morning or of the day was Lock the Vote, Protecting Elections Ahead of 2024. The highlights were Texas laws that are in the books right now are efficient when they're followed, meaning efficient to protect the state against fraud. All we need to do is go back to the books and comply with the existing current laws. They talked a lot about what's going on in Travis County, Harris County, and Dallas. I'm not going to go there. They said that there is a war right now, very clear, and the first person that I heard talk about this was last year, Lieutenant Governor, oh my goodness, I forgot his name. My mind is like so tired. He just talked to us this afternoon, but it blanked out. I blanked. So Lieutenant Governor of Texas talked about the battle between rural and urban areas in Texas. Pretty much he was saying rural Texas. And rural does not include only the very, very small towns with farms around. He was talking about Midland, Odessa, smaller towns and places where the Texas values are still there, still in place. And I still cannot remember the name of our Lieutenant Governor. Unbelievable. He spoke to us at lunchtime today. I think I have his name here somewhere. Dan Patrick. Oh my goodness. Or as you say there in West Texas, oh my word. Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor of Texas. He's the president of the Texas Senate. So, war between urban and rural areas in Texas. This guy that was appointed by Trump, when Trump was the president, for sort of a board of electoral fraud investigators concerning that matter, said that right now in America we have 44 states out of the 50, 44 states where they say everything is okay. So he said these states are in a self-denial mode. Everything is okay. You point to them, the fraud, the problems, the corruption. They just do not want to accept, recognize, admit that there is a problem. 6 states, Texas being one of them, he said, these are not defensive states, meaning that whatever this federal board that was investigating fraud would bring to the attention of the Texans, the Texas delegation, the Texas as a state, it was accepted quickly and promptly. Numbers that shocked me, I didn't know that, I was not aware of those. Maybe you were, so you're not going to be shocked as I was. In 2016, 6%, we had in Texas 6% of mail-in ballots. In 2016, Trump, Clinton. Then in 2020, Trump, Biden, it went up to 21%. 21%. 1 of every 5 votes was mail-in ballot in Texas because of the COVID related restrictions and everything else. But look at what they are talking here about California. Let me correct that, guys. 2016 was 6% in Texas. In 2020 was not 21%, it was 10%. So it came up from 6% in 2016 to 10% in 2020, meaning 1 vote in every 10 votes was mail-in ballot. In California, it was 51% in 2016 and 86% in the 2020 election. 86% of the votes in California, 4 in every 5 was through mail-in ballots. And I even wrote things wrong here. I tried to take notes as fast as I can, and there's so many mistakes here. Anyways, let's go faster now. Sister Connie brought to me, to my attention, and Mark also talked about that, Mark Christian, about the ERIC system. The first thing that they said is that this received money from the Open Society, meaning George Soros. Those were grants coming from George Soros, but that George Soros does not participate directly anymore right now in anything that is happening in ERIC. To my surprise, another surprise, I did not know, and I might be wrong in my notes here, and you can correct me if you know that for sure. They told, for what I could gather, California and New York are not part of ERIC, which is very interesting, right? For a whole variety of issues. Positives of ERIC, this guy highlighted one. There is no other way, he said, of finding people who voted in different states. So somebody that voted in Texas, somebody who voted in Florida, somebody who voted in Illinois. If this person votes 3, 4, 5 times, the only way for election officials to know that is through ERIC. I'm just relaying information, right? If you can correct me if you know more about that, because I know very, very little about this. And the negative part, so they highlighted that as a positive aspect of ERIC. As a negative, they said, what other data are these guys sharing? I mean, the guys that have been coordinating ERIC. So there is no way of identifying what types of information from taxpayers and their specific information, driver's license, phone number, street address. What are the things that have been shared with other departments, from the federal government, from state government? So that is something that is a big question mark, and they highlighted it as a negative point. There's no way to know that with the system in place as it is right now. Another information that was mind-blowing to me, Texas receives annually, in average, 400,000 people every year, but 300,000 people leave Texas every year. I had never read anything about that, meaning that we have a net growth in Texas of 100,000 people a year. So I need to go back to my research and try to see if this is true at all, or if this is the case. Okay, something that they brought to our attention, how important it is to maintain a Secretary of State in place. And the guy that was talking about this, he's a Republican, he's a conservative, and he said, one thing that I don't like about Texas is how many times Texas State Secretary of State are changed. He said we had 8 different Secretaries of State in the last 5 years. I was not aware of that either. So he said, when you have that, everything changes so fast. You have no roots. You have constant change of personnel, and you can never consolidate the election process or the electoral foundations and put them in place in order to have an efficient electoral system if you keep changing the secretaries of state like 8 in 5 years. He suggested for Texas to start electing the Secretary of State instead of that person being appointed by the governor. Another very important decision that the government of Texas has been reaching, and this is going to be implemented through a bill in both houses, is the institution of 5 micro regions in Texas, completely focused on looking at election fraud problems. 5 regions, with each region with 1 judge, 5 DAs or 5 prosecutors, elected judge, and between 12 and 15 investigators in each of these 5 micro regions of Texas that will be focusing only in election fraud. So this is something that is coming out in a bill, and I find that fascinating. If we can make that happen, I think that although it is, again, an increasing of government, you are enlarging the power of government, but specifically to tackle election fraud, I think that it will be worth it, at least in the in the midterm, in the long term. What else? There's another bill going on right now in both houses, Senate and House, that will fine $1,000 a day to election officials who do not tackle or do not investigate or delay investigate of alleged frauds. So, of course, they did not have any specific and more time to elaborate on that. Who is going to do that? Which area of the government, which department is going to enforce that? Who are the persons that will be specifically fined, punished by this? Is it only election officials, or is it party people? They did not give any details on this. Let's see what happens in the coming months. This bill is going to be out very soon, as they said. What else? There was a guy, he is a conservative here in Austin, and he said one of the best things that I, as a conservative, feel about Austin is that we can have both the local elections and the general elections on the same year. He brought that out, and of course there were people that disagreed with that because it would dilute a lot of the focus both in the local level and in the general election, meaning the presidential election. So this is something that I had to take a note about, how can you do that? How can a city create an ordinance, or is it only made by the parties or by the state or by the Secretary of State or as a federal law? I don't know any of that. So, but that was brought to the attention of the group, and there was a good and heated discussion about that. Very good. I love these types of arguments. Okay, so this is all for the election lecture or panel. Now I moved to another panel, and this panel was on DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion panel. And it was talked over and over again, told that this is equality of outcome, not equality of opportunity. This is something that moves universities, especially from the performance on ideas to performance on ideologies. So from ideas to ideologies. And they said that this has been going on in the American university system for at least 50 to 60 years. From performance and results to moral superiority. I loved when one of the panelists said that. Job applications for universities today. If you say, for example, at UT and Texas Tech, right here in Texas, if you say that you will treat everyone the same way, that is a negative score on your application. Isn't that crazy? If you say that you are going to treat everybody the same, that you don't see skin color difference or no other difference, that all of us are human, endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights, if you say that, this is negative score for you in your application, and including for eventual potential promotions. UT has been creating mechanisms for identifying DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, before promotions. Professionals, professors, staff are only promoted when they can show signs of and scores of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, in their careers, which is crazy, right? Think about that. Texas Tech, the Department of Biological Sciences of Texas Tech, they brought to our attention, wrote a resolution 3 years ago, declaring that there are statements for applications that the people that would apply for a job or a research at the Department of Biological Sciences have to comply with DEI, and especially they have to prove that they have contributed to DEI processes before they even get there, before they are even appreciated for the position. Again, guys, a lot of insanity out there. So political litmus test, this becomes a political litmus test. One of the senator in the panel said that last year Texas invested $27 billion in higher education. And look at what we have, right? These things, these insanity going on in universities that receive taxpayer money. What else? When you add DEI hours, discipline hours, of course you have to cut off other fundamental course disciplines, or you have to eliminate other hours in order to insert or to add DEI hours. So this is going on everywhere in Texas, they said. DEI is an oath of allegiance to a political ideology. There is a bill going on in the House right now. The bill is to be passed in this legislation. It's going to get out of the House on the first semester and go to the Senate in the second semester. The bill is called Save Women's Sports Action. Dan Patrick talked a little bit about this at lunchtime today. One of the things that this professor, he's a PhD, he's a PhD in education. He said the red state's leadership, beginning with governors, have been making very bad choices for the leadership of the universities out there. The state universities are the universities that receive taxpayer money. Their decisions have been for leadership that are very, very woke, as they said. So this is all for the education panel. Now for the other panel was a very sensitive one. This was protecting children from radical gender ideology. My choice had been to go to the other one that I was going to be talking about the crime statuses in the state of Texas, especially involving illegal immigrants here. That's something that, as you know, draws a lot of my attention. But somehow I felt guided in my heart to go to this place, and boy, it was so good to be there. So protecting children from radical gender ideology. The participants, the panelists, were one TPPF guy, professor, he's a lawyer, he's a PhD. He was the moderator. And then there was an MD, a medical doctor. There was a PhD in philosophy. And there was Chloe Cole. Chloe Cole, she was on Tucker sometimes. She is part now of Fox Nation, one of the Tucker Carlson's shows on these gender insanity. She was there. And remember that she's the girl that at 11, 12 years old, she started taking heavy medicines to transition into a boy. At 15, she cut both of her breasts, so double mastectomy, and now she's detransitioning. And this is has become actually an activist all over the country. She was just finalizing our panel, and she had a plane to catch because she was flying somewhere else for another lecture. She's being inspiring not only other children, kids her age, that there are people out there that are willing and desiring to embrace them, to love on them. So she is, I think, 19 or 20 years old now, but she had a double mastectomy. Her parents didn't know what to do. She pretty much talked to us about her personal testimony and the whole process, the whole deal, since the beginning of the process until the end of the process, and now detransitioning. So they talked about gender. What is gender, right? Gender eliminates this idea of gender ideology, eliminates biology. That is the whole goal, is to kill the idea of male and female, because it is a subjective prospect. And of course, the professor said it separates the self, the person, the identity from the body, right? No, I am a man in a body of a woman. So this is very much subjective. This is what they tackled here and focused a lot on talking about. They talked a lot about conformity. If you don't conform, if you don't adapt, if you don't adjust, if you don't comply, you're going to be hurt by the professors, by the university. You're not going to be receiving research money, grants. You are going to be made pariahs in wherever you are. So what else? 18 states have already passed bills to protect kids from radical sex change and sex procedures and medicines. So that was so good to hear that 18 states have already done that. And guys, so many times, and as you know, I am so much focused on the local level stuff, that I believe that what we do in the local level is what will define what happens in the nation. But sometimes it's good for us to know what is going on out there, because we may be isolating ourselves from the big picture. We are not only a city or a county or a state, we are a nation, one nation under God, right? So this baptism or this immersion here on the summit has been an opportunity for me to hear, for all of the participants, the attendees, to hear from people that have been fighting on the front lines of culture everywhere. Very good people out there. We have very good people out there fighting for the Judeo-Christian principles and values. Okay, one of the professors, I think the senator the representative actually talked about the United Kingdom, that the United Kingdom has just passed a full stop bill on puberty blocks. Again, I will do some research on that. I have not read that anywhere. But again, he is a state representative, and he said we need to do the same. We need to put a full stop on puberty blocks, on the use of puberty blocks in the state of Texas. The name of this gentleman, the representative, he was the only MD, medical doctor there in the panel, Tom Oliverson. He is from Texas District 130. So he represents District 130. And there was a point when things became very emotional, when he, as a medical doctor and a Christian, he turned to Chloe, this detransitioning girl that used to be a boy until 20 minutes ago, in her mind and in her body, and talking about her pains, her hurt, her desires to commit suicide, her detachment from friends, isolation in life, depression, and all of the physical problems, the side effects of medicines, all of that. She just told us about her nightmare, right? And this doctor, this representative, Tom Oliverson, he did something that was so powerful. He turned to her in the panel and said, Chloe, I want to say that we failed you. I'm a doctor. My profession failed you. I regret that I did that to you. And he said, of course, I never put my hands on you. I never talked to you before, but I represent here all the doctors. And remember when I told you about the prayers, Daniel chapter 9, Nehemiah chapter 9, when Daniel and Nehemiah both put themselves in front of God, in the face of God, and say, we sinned against you, right? that taking place, the place of a whole bunch of people. This is exactly what the doctor said and did. And he said, I'm sorry. I ask you to please forgive us. I regret it. But he said, but from now on, I'm here for you. I'm going to do everything in my power to help you. Whatever I need to do for you, I will do. So it was a moment of reconciliation, very powerful moment of forgiveness. And she got a little bit emotional. She didn't like sob or nothing of that. But it was a very powerful moment. And then all of a sudden, this mother rises up and comes to the microphone for her question. And she says, and now she is sobbing, she's crying. She says, I'm a mother of 4 girls, and you could be one of them. You could have been one of my 4 girls. So she said, I'm so sorry that our country did this to you. It was a very profound and powerful moment of forgiveness. Unbelievable. I was so glad that I was there for this. And this mother said, you are loved. You are loved. Chloe. My question to them was, and I tried to raise this question, to bring this question since the first panel in the morning, but of course there are dozens of people that raise their hands and want to ask questions. So this time I was allowed that opportunity to ask a question. And my question was specifically how the left has hijacked the words ESG. They hijacked what environment means, what social means, what governance means, what diversity means, what equity means, what inclusion means, what gender care means, what gender affirmation means. So all of these good words in the dictionary were completely hijacked by them. And my question was, how do we overturn that? How do we reverse that? This is infuriating. I said, what can be done legislatively and academically? And the most powerful response from Andrew, he was the moderator. He works for TPPF. Both of the other guys said, well, this is really a very profound, a very difficult problem because we have the First Amendment that covers people can say whatever they want to say, but we need to restate the narrative. We need to bring what the words really mean. And he said, for that matter, you guys should not wait on us, on Texas Public Policy Foundation, on the Senate, on the Congress, on the House, on the governor, on the lieutenant governor, or the doctors. You guys, individually, in your everyday life, need to learn how to stand up and say, enough is enough. I will not comply. You will not do that to our kids. That's the line on the sand. That is the enough is enough type of moment that we need to have. And that is pretty much what I have been telling you for years now. We can do that very powerfully in the local level. By the way, there is this discussion going on right now regarding the library, the Midland County Library. I'm going to be sitting down with Judge Terry Johnson again very soon to talk about what we can do as a community to help him in that battle. So this is an upcoming activity that we, as a Nehemiah School of Government, will be engaged in. What else? I think that is it. Oh, the last thing that I wanted you to take note of is there are 2 bills, one going on in the House, one going on in the Senate. One bill is HB, this is the House bill, House Bill 1686. House Bill 1686. Google it, take a look at what it means, what is the contents are about. And the other bill is SB Senate Bill 625. Senate Bill SB 625. And our assignment here is to know what it is that both of the bills are about, because they are about specifically this topic of protecting children from radical gender ideology. So number 1, know what the bills are about. And number 2, pick your phones up and call Brooks Landgraf, our representative, and Kevin Sparks, our senator. Call both of them. I don't have their numbers here. I don't have their contact info here for you right now, but this is very easily Googled. So just go there, find Brooks Landgraf and Kevin Sparks, and ask them not only to support HB 1686, SB 625, but to vote for them, to vote for that approval. 30 minutes, that was a lot. Tomorrow is the last day. I will be coming back to you by the end of the last session tomorrow. Then I'm going to be spending the rest of the day here in Austin, and I'll travel back to Midland on Saturday morning. May the Lord bless you. I am so grateful because I feel your prayers, physical strength, mental strength. I appreciate your friendship and your support. Again, may God bless you, and I will be in touch with you soon again tomorrow. Okay? Bye-bye.